I really wasn't prepared for the actions and energy that have surrounded me and the UCM headquarters this past year. In fact, there's times when I was embarrassed to represent this church. My thought processes and actions are so different from those that I've been experiencing. Now, I'm not saying one is right and the other's wrong. We're all individuals. We have paths of our own to walk and lessons to learn. What may seem easy to me could be difficult for someone else. The same applies to me. What is difficult for me could be a simple process for one of you. I do know I've learned a great deal about myself. I've always considered this church to be Spirit's church. As your leader, my belief has always been to be open to direction from Spirit and do what they've asked me to do. I was recently asked, what is my vision for this church? And coming from where I was emotionally and energetically at that moment, I said, I just want to get through this meeting. Their reply was, you seem so sad, it makes me want to cry. And I agreed. I am sad. This has been a very difficult year. Then I was asked, why did you stay? We don't want you to get sick. And my answer, Spirit asked me to stay, because I did consider leaving. I was then asked if I always do what Spirit asks me to do, and my reply is yes, because when I don't, I'm in more trouble. Many years ago at an annual meeting, when Bertie Peterson was president, I mentioned to someone, and I don't remember who it was, I didn't understand why I was there, even in the capacity that I was. And her reply to me was, because you bring balance to the board. I thought at the time I understood what she told me. I was a lot younger, and my vision of what and how to do things was much different than it is now. I felt that in my somewhat limited vision at that time, I offered choices to the board because I asked questions and gave my perspective. Now in today's experiences, I understand I carry an energy of balance. I am not so sure I can describe it in words, but I do feel and see two sides of the perspectives, and I try to find a way for both sides to balance. Spirit has always directed my life. I'm extremely close, and it's nothing I'm willing to give up. As I've mentioned in messages before, this was not a position I ever dreamed I would be in, and I have attempted to do and be as some have suggested. I have always wanted and tried to represent UCM in the best possible way, and thought if I did as people suggested, I would be doing so. However, try as I might, I could not become what some would like me to be. I feel sad. As try as I might, I can't do and say the suggested actions and words. They're not my truth, and they're not my mission. Recently, I received an email from a minister who's on a very limited income. She's been a member a long time and had received her renewal card and thanked me, and wrote how nice it looked in her wallet. My heart filled with love for her as I realized how dear UCM is to her. The other evening at our meditation on the 11th, I felt the energy and the light that has grown from the beginning of that group, and what a beacon it has become now for many who are wandering, so to speak, in spirit. They see that light and they come to be welcomed by angels, family members, and other workers to help them complete their steps on the path of light. Some months ago, I would listen to the news just to find out what was President Obama experiencing that day. If it was a political attack, I knew I could expect some extreme energy to come my way. Now, I'm not comparing myself to President Obama, but I am the leader of an organization, and all organizations, and actually each of us individually has and is going through an inner transformation and a profound clearing process with the energy that's being directed at our world today. The energy of the times we are in is bringing change. We can hold on to the way we've done things in the past, or we can move into a new way of thinking and doing. It is up to each of us how we proceed. I choose to work with Spirit and to continue to light the pathway of love. I wasn't here when UCM was formed. Well, maybe I was, but I had a different body, and I don't remember it now. And over the years, things have been done that should have been cleared, and for whatever reason, they were not. Now is the time to do that. We are all participants in a global clearing process. We may choose to do so together in love and be beacons for others, or go on individual journeys. For a number of years, I've asked you to join with me in a guided meditation in the gardens of Universal Church of the Master. I now ask you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and go to the gardens of UCM. In 1908, a group of like-minded people formed UCM and began lighting the path for us to follow. In the garden, you will see some of our members who began this church, helping to keep the gardens fertile and growing. See how excited they are that the garden has continued to grow and flourish. I would ask that you now personally thank them for the work they did, so we could be here today. For without them and the work they did, there'd be no UCM. If you feel so inclined to take the plant or flower that is being offered to you, plant it. This is your commitment to the growth of UCM. As you stroll around the gardens, there's one for each of our past presidents and one for me. If you feel like pulling some weeds, trimming overgrowth, or just sitting on a bench observing the gardens, please do so. In the past, the gardens have only had pathways and plants. Now there are fountains, benches, and places to meditate. Trees, birds, yeah, even squirrels inhabit the gardens. At the center of the garden is a large white building, similar to a palace with golden white light emanating from within. As you approach the building, you'll hear music sung by angels that truly lifts your soul. This is the loving energy you as a UCM member send out to others with every beat of your heart. Take a moment now to look around. The gardens are lush, the birds are singing, and the water in the fountain gurgles its music. Take deep breaths. This is UCM. This is you. See how you've grown this past year and how much you have to offer. You are a gift of love. Now it is time to leave the gardens, and I ask you to return to this room. Open your eyes, wiggle your toes, take some deep breaths. I want you to look around and see the joy and love in everyone sitting beside you. This is who you truly are and what represents UCM. I again remind you, we are abundant beings of light and love that can achieve whatever we choose to achieve. Individually, we are formidable. Collectively, we are unstoppable. I have had a vision for UCM. I saw this church with a small chapel where small weddings could be done, memorials, any type of a small ceremony, and it would be open for use by all our ministers. As additional income, small vendor store growing from the angel cards and oils that we now have. Also a selection of items for wedding ceremonies and other celebrations. Once we had the degree program, my vision changed to include a campus for classes and seminars. With the events that happened to me this last year, that vision has faded. But I want you to know it's still in my heart. I believe Spirit has a vision for each of us and UCM. Thank you. stuff. Thank you. And I don't want you to think that Spirit just left me hanging out there with no help. I have plenty of love and support, and I appreciate everyone who has been very supportive to me this year. But it has been hard. But it's, you know, it's a subjective thing. It could be hard for me, it'd be easy for you, but I'm not the only one who's had a difficult year. I bet every one of you could say the same thing. So we're all doing our part.